The other week I posted a video on a flight I had around Stonehenge that ended up with a complete focus nightmare, leaving with a lot of blurred footage. But many of you have been in touch since asking for advice on flying in sensitive areas like Stonehenge. So I thought I'd do a very quick video today on giving you a bit of advice on how, where and when to fly to get that perfect shot, and what I would do if you are challenged or confronted by anybody. First off though, you always need to remember that ultimately you as the pilot, you're always responsible for your flight. Just saying some guy off YouTube said I could fly is never going to be a great excuse for a flight that is totally in the wrong. That said, many places and organisations wrongly state you cannot fly when, of course, you can, as long as you're not on their land. Remember, in England, landowners do not own or manage the airspace. The Civil Aviation Authority do that, and they are the ones that state where and how you can fly. And I've got to admit, National Trust and English Heritage have got blanket bans on drones for all of their properties and land, irrespective of how remote or desolate the location may be. In my opinion, it is a lazy, ill thought out policy that actually undermines genuinely good rules that would otherwise stop inconsiderate flying. You see a no cycling sign on a crowded pedestrian bridge, it kind of makes sense. You see a no cycling sign on a track that crosses open wide countryside with hardly anybody around, and you kind of think, well, why is that sign there and should I just ignore it? So wherever you're flying though, your first port of call is going to be, can you actually fly with regards to the airspace there? Are you near an airport? Are there any airspace restrictions? Drone Assist is that's by an app by Altitude Angel. That's a free app that will show you any restricted airspace that could get you in hot water if you fly. As I said, it's free. It's an app that works on Android as well as iPhone, and it shows clearly where there are permanent or temporary restrictions called NOTAMs, Notice to Airmen, and they usually indicate a temporary restriction that might be in place. Alternatively, you can also use the very brilliant Drone Scene website. That will also work on your smartphone as well. And again, it shows you not only places to fly and any air restrictions, it's got other really useful layers of information you can put in, like National Trust managing the area, or whether or not the area you're flying in is a special scientific interest site. Drone Scene does need Grey Arrows Drone Club membership to get the full set of layers available. That's only £12 a year. It does get you full access to all the information, and for me, it's absolutely worth it. And certainly out of the two, Drone Scene would be very much my preference. I think it's far more user-friendly and gives you far more information. Either way, look, once you know you're good to fly, you then need to work out where and when you're going to take off. These sub 250 gram drones like Mini 3, Mini 3 Pro, they have really opened things up for us. They've given us far more freedom to fly in built up areas and where uninvolved people might be. But I still always take the approach that just because you can fly doesn't always mean you should. Have a think whether or not you're really going to value the photos or the video that you take with loads of people in the pictures. I have to say, it is a bit of a harsh fact. No one ever likes to hear a drone buzzing around up above, despite my own personal view that a typical family with young kids makes way more noise and is far more annoying. But hey ho, look, for Stonehenge, there is actually no air restrictions that are preventing you from flying around in that airspace, although you do have the Lark Hill airbase zone that kicks in very close to the northeast of the Stones. And as it happens, at the moment, there is actually a CAA NOTAM in effect. There's radio jamming trials that are going on until August that really do prohibit you from flying in the area at all. Now, that wasn't in place when I was there earlier in June, and the temporary restriction that happens every summer solstice also wasn't in place. So when I was there, I was fine and dandy. Until August, you won't be. But for my flight around Stonehenge, I chose to fly after closing time because A, you're going to get brilliant sunset colours that look far better. B, you don't want to annoy everybody on the ground who genuinely want to enjoy the stones and the site in their own special way, I thought. And C, of course, because you're going to end up with far better pictures and footage because there's been nobody in view wandering around the stones. And that was always going to be a better end result. Stonehenge is interesting because there is actually a public byway running very close to the stones. You can easily see it from the main road because there's always loads of camper vans parked there, myself included, on this particular day and night. It is a really nasty, bumpy dirt track, but it is a public byway. Not only can you park and walk up to the footpath that runs near the stones for free, It's also a really good spot to take off from, as it is a very quiet little lane, but it's still close enough to the stones to keep your drone in visual line of sight whilst you're flying around. But as ever, keep in mind, what will you do if you have to land remotely? If you run out of battery or for some other reason that forces a landing, will you be able to get your drone back? And of course, with regards to Stonehenge, you really need to keep a healthy distance and make sure you don't crash. Can you imagine the headlines of some drone wanker crashing his drone into Stonehenge's stones? No, not good at all. So keep it safe, keep it high up, and I would always try and keep things after closing time. Choose a time when there's just going to be anybody around, and you will end up with a much better result. To be honest, I kind of take that approach for all my flights. Will it really make a great picture and video? Am I allowed to fly there in the first place? Are there loads of people that will either ruin the picture or distract me by trying to talk to me whilst I'm flying? Either sometimes they just want to know a little bit more about the drone, or worse, you could get some know-it-all that wants to tell you that they think you should not be flying. If you are challenged, then make sure your drone is safe. Let go of the sticks to stop it from moving, and then simply turn and ask the person whether or not they are directly responsible for the land that you're standing on. If they say they're just a member of the public, then tell them you're very aware of the rules. Your drone is registered and it is marked correctly, and you are flying within the rules set out by the Civil Aviation Authority, and they are the people that manage airspace rules. That in itself is normally enough to set anybody on their way. But if you are genuinely on public land that isn't governed by specific rules, then you're probably going to be good to fly. Either way, in my opinion though, it's good to avoid confrontation in the first place. It can easily make you quite angry, it gets your adrenaline going, you then become massively distracted, you can't focus on your flight, and it means you are far more likely to make a mistake and possibly crash. All that said though, in over 7 years of flying, I have very rarely been confronted or challenged. I did once have an annoyed housewife. She came marching out of her house to tell me that despite the fact that I was on some dead-end road, a very quiet bit of land, flying way over some estuary, the fact that she could see my drone from her garden meant I could see into her garden, which was unacceptable, and she demanded I land immediately. I advised her though that I had every right to fly. I had no interest whatsoever in her garden, and I did reassure her that from the air, even houses look like dots, so you really had nothing to worry about. And with that, she walked away in a bit of a huff, but didn't say any more. For me, the overriding message here is fly considerately and sensibly, away from people and in a sensible location, and do land if somebody in genuine authority asks you to. That way you'll avoid trouble and you live to fly another day. So hopefully this will help you with some of your flights. Feel free to drop a comment on any problems that you have encountered and how you handled them. That really should make some good fun reading. But look, like I said, hopefully this will help you out. If it has, click the little thumbs up for me, always helps. And as ever, wherever in the world you are, whatever you're doing, have fun, happy flying.